Draft Resolution A/80/L1/Revision 1 is adopted.
I want to thank the overwhelming majority of nations that voted for the endorsement of this declaration.
This declaration is one-sided. It does not designate Hamas as a terrorist organization, and it dares to equate the release of Israeli hostages with the release of convicted terrorists. Shame on you.
The United Nations General Assembly on September 12th overwhelmingly backed a declaration calling for tangible, time-bound and irreversible steps toward a two-state solution between Israel and the Palestinians, just days before world leaders convened in New York. According to a report by Reuters, the 7-page document emerged from an international conference held at the UN in July, co-hosted by Saudi Arabia and France, aimed at addressing the decades-long conflict. Both the United States and Israel boycotted the gathering. A resolution endorsing the declaration received 142 votes in favour and 10 against, while 12 countries abstained.
Draft Resolution A/80/L1/Revision 1 is adopted.
Palestinian Permanent Observer. Riyad Mansour thanked member states for supporting what he called the option of peace, urging opponents to heed the sound of reason and abandon war and destruction aimed at the Palestinian people.
I want to thank the overwhelming majority of nations that voted for the endorsement of this declaration, endorsement of the plan for peace, endorsement for the details of that plan in the declaration and in the annex, and the yearning of almost everyone, the international community, to open the door for the option of peace. We heard a voice that this is not endorsing peace, but endorsing something else. I trust that this overwhelming vote and endorsement by all those who voted in favor of this resolution is an illustration of saying, yes, we have a plan. Yes, we have a detailed roadmap for peace, and we invite the party that is still pushing the option of war and destruction and attempts to eliminate the Palestinian people and steal their land, to listen to the sound of reason, to the sound of the logic of dealing with this issue peacefully, and for the overwhelming message that has resonated in this General Assembly today.
In the 7-page declaration, the 193-member General Assembly condemned the October 7th, 2023, Hamas attacks on Israel that triggered the Gaza war. It also denounced Israel's strikes on civilians and civilian infrastructure in Gaza, as well as the siege and starvation tactics that have created a devastating humanitarian catastrophe and protection crisis.
For those who want to put an end to the war in the Gaza, this aggression, come and join us. For those who want the release of the hostages and the prisoners, come and join us. For those who want to put an end to using the denial of food and to impose famine against the Palestinian people in Gaza, come and join us. For those who want to rebuild and to reconstruct the Gaza Strip, come and join us. For those who want to have an end to this illegal occupation, come and join us. And for those who are interested in the implementation of the historic advisory opinion of the ICJ, come and join us. For those who want to have a two-state solution, to live side by side in peace and security, and to open the doors for integration in the entire Middle East and for allowing the Middle East to reach its potential in terms of development, innovation, science, and cooperation, come and join us.
All Gulf Arab states voted in favor of the resolution, while Israel and the United States opposed it, joined by Argentina, Hungary, Micronesia, Nauru, Palau, Papua New Guinea, Paraguay, and Tonga. Earlier, French Ambassador Jérôme Bonnafont, speaking on behalf of France, Saudi Arabia, and other co-sponsors, introduced Draft Resolution A80L1, the first measure of the UN General Assembly's 80th session.
Madame la Présidente,
On behalf of France and Saudi Arabia, as well as all of the co-sponsor states, it's my honor to present Draft Resolution A80L1. The first one that the 80th session of the UN General Assembly is dealing with, and it's entitled Endorsement of the New York Declaration on the Peaceful Settlement of the Question of Palestine and the Implementation of the Two-State Solution. This roadmap involves an immediate ceasefire in Gaza and the release of all of the hostages. It involves the establishment of a Palestinian state that is viable and sovereign. It involves the disarmament of Hamas and exclusion from governance in Gaza. And it involves the normalization between Israel and the Arab countries. And finally, it involves the implementation of collective security guarantees, including Israel.
The vote comes ahead of a September 22nd gathering on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly, where several countries, including Britain, are expected to formally recognize a Palestinian state. The declaration adopted by the Assembly states that the war in Gaza must end now and calls for the deployment of a temporary international stabilization mission under a UN Security Council mandate. The October 7, 2023, Hamas attack on Israel killed 100 to 200 people, mostly civilians, and about 251 were taken hostage, according to Israeli tallies. More than 64,000 people, also mostly civilians, have since been killed during the war in Gaza, according to local health authorities. Israel rejected the United Nations General Assembly's overwhelming vote to endorse a declaration outlining steps toward a two-state solution between Israel and the Palestinians, excluding Hamas. Israel's Foreign Ministry spokesperson Oren Marmerstein described the UN General Assembly as a political circus. Taking to his X handle, he said,
Once again, it has been proven how much the General Assembly is a political circus detached from reality. In the dozens of clauses of the declaration endorsed by this resolution, there is not a single mention that Hamas is a terrorist organization.
Before the voting began, Israel's ambassador to UN, Danny Danon, termed the declaration as one-sided.
This declaration is one-sided. It does not designate Hamas as a terrorist organization, and it dares to equate the release of Israeli hostages with the release of convicted terrorists. Shame on you. This meaningless political maneuver takes place while innocent people remained blindfolded in Gaza's tunnels, starved, tortured, waiting. Meanwhile, many members of this assembly blindfold themselves by choice. By endorsing this declaration, you cover your own eyes. You choose not to see the truth, to ignore the facts. Israel will not wear that blindfold. We see the hostages. We see the terror. We see this declaration for what it is, a political gesture, an act of theater. Madam President, we will not allow Hamas to win in this assembly what it could not gain on October 7th.
Meanwhile, the United States described the vote as yet another misguided and ill-timed publicity stunt that undermined serious diplomatic efforts to end the conflict.
The declaration engages in disturbing moral equivalence and fails to recognize the reality that Hamas's terrorism on October 7th was the reason this war was necessary, and its refusal to free the hostages and lay down its arms is the reason this war continues. The version of the declaration being voted on today even continues to contain language endorsing the so-called right of return, which would mean the demographic death of Israel as a Jewish state. For these reasons, the United States urges delegations to join us in voting against the resolution. Thank you.
The landmark UN vote highlights deep divisions over the path to Middle East peace. For Palestinians, it marks momentum towards statehood, while Israel and the US dismiss it as a dangerous illusion. With world leaders set to meet in New York on September 22nd, the challenge remains whether the declaration sparks real diplomacy or adds to global discord. Meanwhile, the administration of US President Donald Trump is reportedly growing frustrated with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu after Israel bombed a meeting of Hamas leaders in Qatar on Tuesday, just as they were said to be discussing a US-backed hostage ceasefire framework. Trump voiced his displeasure, saying the strike on Qatari soil, a close US ally, did not advance Israel or America's goals, though he stressed that eliminating Hamas remained a worthy goal. Still, Politico reported Thursday that frustration inside the administration runs deeper. Every time they're making progress, it seems like he bombs someone, a person close to Trump's national security team told the outlet. That's why the president and his aides are so frustrated with Netanyahu. According to a US official, Trump's inability to control Netanyahu has been particularly exasperating given Israel's actions in places like Qatar and Syria, where Washington also has key interests. The Politico reported, quoting sources, that the White House has been working to reassure Qatar and will raise the strike, and Gaza talks directly with Qatari Prime Minister Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdulrahman Al Thani on Friday.